Okay, what we're going to do in this video is install the new version 15 of the Basket Trader, and we're going to install it into the build 610 of the MT4 platform, which it has been coded for, and it does work now. So you can download version build 610. Earlier versions before 610 probably won't work, so try to get at least build 610. So just go to your broker and download it. You should start off with the screen here and then just follow the screens through like you normally would before and get it installed. Now what I am doing, I'm going to install it into a separate folder under the C drive, which I created here, which I called demo MT4 610. Don't put it down here in the program files. Don't put it there. Put it into a separate folder. When you come up to this screen here is the one where you want to tell it to put it in a different folder. Just hit the browse, and here it is right here. Highlight that one, click OK, and let it install it into that folder you created. Okay, once you have it installed, you should come up with something similar to this. I'm going to close down a lot of this stuff for now. We don't need it right now. And move some of these around a little bit. And I'm going to close most of these windows. I'm going to leave the $yen open because that's the one we will use later on. And get rid of the indicator. We don't need the indicator on there, so we can get rid of that. And I'm just going to change it to H1. It don't matter what you're on, but H1 is fine. Okay, now what we want to do is put the files in the proper folders. The easiest way to do that, if you got the program already open, is go down here and open up the data folder. And here you will get the data folder. You can see, actually if you look at the link up here, you can actually see where this folder is located. If you want to make a shortcut to that folder, that's fine. That way you won't have to open the program every time you want to do this. But this is where all your stuff will be placed. Now what you want to do is open up your zip file that you can find at the forum on the first page there. And this is the zip file for the latest version 15. All set up for build 610. And open up the experts and then go over here under QL4 folder, and you'll see there's an experts one here. All you got to do is copy these two. So we're going to be using these two, so copy them and paste them over here into the experts. And now we also got files. Want to copy those. Let's go over here into the files. We got indicators. These will be the indicators we'll be using. These all have to be in your indicators folder over here. And we got some scripts. One script. Copy that script. And put it in the script folder over here. And we got some templates. I put some templates in here this time just to help you get started. Copy those. And you gotta back up here because the templates is back one. There's templates. Paste them in there. Okay, so there, now we got all that ready. Now we can get rid of this zip file. We got everything over here. Yeah, we can close this down. Like I said, you can make a shortcut to this if you want to. Now, normally if you go to this link, a lot of times a lot of these won't let you get all the way down to the end here because these are hidden files. So what you got to do then is go down and go into Windows 7 and unhide your hidden folders, and you can get all the way down to this, and then just make a shortcut to it and put the shortcut on your desktop. That way you won't have to open up MetaTrader every time you want to go in there. Okay, so I'm going to restart MetaTrader now that I put those files in there, just to make sure we see them. Here have the shortcut, what it's created on the desktop. Okay, now we're back in business. Now one thing you want to do is go up to Tools and do Options. Go down here to Experts Advisor and get these all set up so you don't have to do this with each expert you put in there later on. This will be kind of your default. And of course you want to do any emails or things like that, you got to set those up. But we're just going to do this for now. Okay, now the next thing you want to do, of course, is open up. What we're going to do is run this script, this force load history. You want to update all your history so you got as much history in here as you want. I'll go down and click on the Experts tab down at the bottom so that it opens up that window so we can see what's going on, because that's where it'll tell us about the history. And then just highlight this and drag it over onto the screen. And you notice down below here it says it was loaded. Now this is going to take a while, so we'll give it a minute here to get started. I'm going to stop the recording for just a second. Okay, there you can see we got the first line that has started to download history for the first pair. There for the second pair. It tells you which the different time frames are that it's downloading them for, and how many bars it's getting for each of the time frame. Like here it's getting 162 bars for the daily. The daily is the 1440 period. So this will take a while, so what I'm going to do is I'll stop the recording here and we'll come back as soon as it's finished. Okay, there, it finally completed. It took almost 5 minutes, but you can see all the different ones that it updated. So now we have our history. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is create some baskets. Actually, I'm going to create 3 different baskets here just to show you how it's done. Now this was talked about in some previous videos, so I'm not going to get into too much depth here, but we're going to use the $yen H1 chart here. You can use whatever you want. Use a pair that's got plenty of text coming in. You want plenty of text so it keeps updating your charts. And we're going to use this basket create version 3.610, which is the latest one. And it also has some other additions to it. And we go over to inputs. And the first one we're going to do, we'll do a 1 hour. And we're going to do a C5, and the name of the list we're going to import is C5. Now that's one of those text files, remember, that's over in the files folder. So we'll use this as we'll create our first basket. Now I'm going to create another one. This one's going to be a 14 pair basket. The first one was a 5 pair basket, which was the core 5. This one is the core 14 basket. Create that one. And I'm going to create one more just to be a little different here. And let's make this a 15-minute one. This one is going to be the JPY 7 basket. And the name of the list text file we get this from is the JPY7. This is a 7-pair yen basket. Okay, now if we want to open up our offline files, see, we see all three of them there, so I'll double click on that one. Double click that one. And double click that one. There you notice we got all three of them opened up now. Okay, now I'm not going to go into dragging all the indicators onto the chart and all that stuff and even put the EA on there. For now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use some templates. These are all in the zip file. It'll make it just a little bit quicker here because a lot of you have been through this before and you don't need to repeat it. So what we're going to do is look for our template. This is for the C14 one, which will be this one here. And we just hit refresh here to get it back linked up. And this one is the C5 template, which is this one here. And then we got the yen pairs here, which is the yen template. Okay, so we got those all loaded, so let's get rid of that for now. And you can hit F11 if you want to. Okay, now one of the big changes here in this version 15 is that the EA actually communicates with the indicators that are on the screen. I'm going to stop it for just a minute here. Click on. Now you notice we're using buttons up here again. So see, I got the robot stop. Now what I'm going to do, go to the properties here. And most of these are all the same in here as they were before in version 14. Big change is down here in the miscellaneous. You notice there's it's called Enable Indicator Link. What this does is lets the indicators, or lets the EA read information from the indicators that are on the screen, on the chart. Now to make this work, if you turn this to false, then it'll act just like version 14 did, where you gotta put your indicators on the screen and get them all set up and set up your robot with the indicators values. But if you set this to true, then it enables a link. Now, in order for the link to work, you have to have the indicators on the screen. Without using the link, you don't need them on the screen. They just got to be in your indicator folder. Also, another thing, these indicators have been modified to do this. So you have to use the ones that are in the zip file if you're going to use this link. And you can see in this one here, it's called the version 1_610 ET. That is the HAS one. Same way with the other indicators down here. You know, you got to use those if you use the link. If you don't want to use the link, you can do it the same way you did before with version 14. But here, I'll show you in a minute what the link does. First, we're going to start the robot back up. To do that, you just click on OK here, and you'll come back to live. Now you notice the HAS and the IX01, IX02 values over here. Now with the link turned on, what it does, it reads the values from the HAS and the IX01 and 2 that are on the screen. And you notice down here, there's two separate indicators. In order for the EA to tell these apart, one is called IX01 and the other one's called IX02. And they also show down here what the value these are set at. Like this one is set at 1260, which matches up here, and this one's set at 420, which matches up here, and of course the 212, 280 of the has. Now the interesting thing here, a lot of times you want to play around with this has and try to adjust it. Same way with the IXOs to get them to look better on this particular offline chart. Of course, now when you do this, make sure you don't have live trading active up here, because you could accidentally trigger a trade. But now, say if I wanted to go in and change this, right now it's 212, 28, and that matches, of course, what we got up here. If I want to change this, let's just put some numbers in here. Let's change it to 220. 225, just for the heck of it. Click OK. You notice it automatically updates it over here. So now the robot is also looking at the 220, 225. So by doing this link, you no longer have to worry that the one on the screen matches the one on the robot is watching, because he's looking at the ones that are on the screen here. So it makes it a little bit handier. And we can go back and set him back to where he was. I think we just reset him. He should go back. Yeah, 212. I think it was 28 though, wasn't it? Change that to 8. And you notice it changes back. Same way with the indicators. You want to change one of these. See, now look at, there's IXO1, IXO2. You got to have both of these, because that's how the EA can tell them apart. So suppose we want to change this one. Say you want to change it to like 3500 or something like that. Click OK. You notice it changes over here. So it automatically updates over here for you. Change it back. 4200. Okay, now you see we're back to 4200. So that's why I say you got to be sure you have these indicators on the screen. If they're not on the screen, the EA cannot read them. The robot won't know. But if you don't want to use this method, all you got to do, like I said, is to turn it off, and then you're back to what you were before, where you set these manually over here in the properties. Over here, this is where you would normally set those. This is where you have to set them if you're not using the automatic link. Now, one other thing this does also, remember when on the first page back here, under the $yen, when we created these baskets, we created the 3 baskets. Start this one up here. You notice the pairs. Here's the core 14 pair and the core 5 pair, and here's our yen 7 pair. These all match with what those baskets were, because when we created the basket, it also created a text file which linked it to this chart, to this offline chart name down here, the C14, pound 14. It linked those pairs we had in that basket when we created it to this chart. So now when we load with the link turned on, remember you gotta have it enabled. When we have that turned on, it will automatically load these pair in here. You no longer have to sit and type them all into the EA or create a text file to do it. The basket create will create that text file for you, and it will automatically load it in over here. So you don't have to worry about that anymore. It's all automatic. Another change that I did make in 15 is, as you noticed before, when you change time frames, the strength numbers up here got smaller. Like here you got 1.27, and if you go up to an hourly chart, they're quite a bit larger. Well, I kind of give you a misrepresentation over here in the stars because, so what I did is change the calculation on how it determines how many stars you got here for each one, so it gives you a better representation. Like before, if you would have went to the 15-minute one like this one here with these smaller strength numbers up here, this wouldn't have made much sense over here. You wouldn't have had many stars. So we've changed that a little bit. So I hope that works out okay for you. Of course, then the only other change to this, as you noticed up here, we went back to the buttons. MT4, these versions now use buttons. They have their own buttons built in, so you can use these up here. And they're just like before, except you don't have to use the control keys. You just hit them, and it'll come up trading live. And if you want to stop the robot, just click on that and it will stop it. It doesn't give you the warning anymore like you did before. I figured that was just a couple extra steps you didn't need in there, just slowed you down a little bit. Now it'll tell you robot is stopped. The best thing to do if you're ever shutting down the platform, you just go up and click on the X up in the corner up there to shut the platform down, is to stop the robots on all of your charts that you have them placed on. Your platform will shut down smoother and it'll have less problems coming back up. So stop the robot on all the charts you have in place. And then of course to get him started back up again, you just got to go open up the properties and click on OK. And he starts back up again. And you got your buttons here. You got a long button, which will initiate a long manual trade. Same way with the short button. If you want to do a short manual trade, those will override anything else. If you click that, it will take a long trade. It doesn't care what your indicators say or anything. And then you got the close basket button. If you want to close that trade, you hit the close. Now remember, it's only going to close the trade that you have for that magic number down here. So if I hit close basket, if I got one open, it's only going to close 8945 magic number. And it's important, if you have more than one of these robots running or other trades open in your platform, make sure you give them all a different magic number. Otherwise you're going to run into problems. And then we have the take profit. If the trade's open, you can add a take profit line or a stop loss line. These only work when the trade is open. You cannot put a take profit or stop loss line on the screen if you don't have an open trade. And you can also add the break even to an open trade, or you can even set it ahead of time. Like if I click on here, now when it opens a trade, it will use the break even. And when it gets to whatever the pip number you have set in the settings above your break even point, it will put a dotted line on the screen to show you where that break even is. Up until then, you don't get nothing on the screen until it reaches that number. And then this is and these are all toggles, so you don't want it on. Now this is the trailing stop loss. If I turn him on, any kind of stop loss you are using will trail by the number of pips you have set. Now if you want to change it, the trailing, it was just like before, turn him off. You remember, you'll have a dotted line down here where your stop loss is. Grab that line, put it where you want it, turn it back on, click it, turn it back on, and now it'll trail at that amount. And then of course you got the breakout channels, which those can be put on before any trade is open. If you click on it, you can Put those on before the trade is open. And you see them there, they're the purple lines. You notice they're quite far apart here because since we're on the 15-minute chart, the spacing is a little different. But these, you put them wherever you want. Remember, if the price closes above this line, take a trade, closes below this line, take a trade, or you can delete it if you want to. You don't have to have it on there. You can get rid of it. That one or the other one. And you can always use these like a preset order. You can put these on there and move it to a certain point. Say if the price reaches that order, it will trigger the trade. Now remember, the price has to close. The candle has to close above this line. And of course, if you want them off the thing, just click it again. And then we got the trend line exit, which I can't put on there right now because this isn't a live trade. You can put that on there. Remember, that's the trend line you can add, and that's an exit. So if you're in an uptrend, you put the line, below the uptrend, and if the candle closes below that line, it will exit the trade. So basically, all these work the same as your control keys did before. And then of course, you got the open alert window over here if you want to look at that. Now, one thing to remember, I probably said this in the past, is these wicks on these candles do not mean anything. They're kind of useless. The robot doesn't use them, and they really don't mean anything. The price, if you watch the price never gets to the top of the wick. It's just the way these off charts are created. Actually, if you turn them off, you can actually see what the robot is actually seeing. This is actually what the robot sees. These are the prices he is looking at. Those wicks are useless. I just got them on here because they look a little neater, I guess, but so I'll put them back on there. Sometimes you'll get where you got a doji or something, where the open and close price is exactly the same. You won't have much of a candle body there. Like here, like this doji. They actually open and close at the same spot. So if you take off the wicks, you don't have much there. Sometimes it just leaves a blank space. So I usually leave them on there. I think that just about covers all the new changes. If you go through the previous videos, you will get filled in on things that took place on those, and they're basically the same. And like I said, I think I said at the previous now, version 14, the old version 14 does work on build 610. I tried it. I didn't try it in depth, but it comes up and brings everything up and looks good, so I believe it's working okay. You can try that if you want the old version 14. You can just continue to use it, and it will work on build 610. It will not work on 604. I tried that. I don't know about 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. I didn't download all those, but they came out with 610 now, and it does work on those. I tried it, so if you want to use the version 14, go right ahead. Now, the only other change, little bit minor change that was made, was, I'm just going to change the properties on the screen to clean it up. I don't want all this stuff on here right now. I'm just setting everything to none and turn it onto a line chart, turn off the grid, all that, so I get a black screen so I can show you. Remember, we had the other EA we had was the BTCS version 8. And we had a video on that, so if you want to know more about it, go to the video. Okay, now there was a minor change to the BTCS version 8 EA. what we've added is where you could change the colors. Some people are having trouble with red, so you can change them now of the display. So if you don't want red there, make it something else. Make it that color if you want to. And it changes it. Same with the green, you can change. The yellow, you probably won't see much of the yellow because that's when this value would be 0.00. Then it would be yellow because it would be no. It's not real weak or it's not real strong. It's going no place. So, but that's the only changes, and that is under VTCS9 now. That's the latest version on that. So I guess that about covers everything. We'll post it on the first page, and hopefully the next build won't come out of MT4 and screw everything up again. So give it a try, see what happens.